Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/culturalstew. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Please listen carefully.
Welcome to the Cultural Stew Podcast, coming to you from the Goat Factory Media Entertainment Studios. We are your cultural media recommendation podcast, giving you our take on what we think is worth carving your time out for, and also what we think you can pass on and maybe go cut that lawn instead. Warning, we use adult language, and there may be spoilers ahead. Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of the Cultural Stew Podcast. My name is Ron Herkins Jr., and I am here with my co-host,
Tony Carter.
And
Valerie Vidmar. We have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Brigitte Rody Garrison.
Yay!
And what brings you in today?
Well, I am here to hopefully give some feedback on the movie Tully, which we're going to talk about later. I'm a certified nurse midwife and a maternal health provider, and a mom of 5, ages 4 to 30. So,
She has some experience.
been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And aside from that, you are also a former and hopefully soon going back onto...
Oh, I used to do acting and singing and dancing in my 20s. I'm dancing now. I might go back to auditioning soon. So maybe you'll see me in the chorus.
Bit too like.
That theater is just getting back in theater is just, it's always just that
Love
little
it.
pull in the background. Just,
Yep.
Her daughter and my daughter are like little bestie Broadway girls.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cute.
Cute. Okay.
I mean, it is cute.
Well, Valerie, did you have anything interesting happen this week?
Interesting. My friend Dustin's in town for 2 weeks. He worked all week, so I didn't get to see him during the day. Jason was gone all week to California. The girls, what did we do? I'm kind of blanking as to what we did, which sounds really terrible. I think I had a little bit of a little mental breakdown on Friday, cried about 4 times about thinking about them going back to school, and my youngest going to kindergarten, which...
It's going to open up your...
We're getting a straight jacket.
Daytime.
Ready. So you got to deal with the fact that if you've been a stay-at-home mom, the idea of who are you? So I don't know who I am. We'll figure that out later. But yeah, it's just been kind of a up and down week, just watching some shows at night, and that's about it. We work during the day, and then I get the girls down, and then watch some shows at night. It's really kind of a boring week for me. So nothing super exciting, unless you're looking at me thinking there was something exciting that you know about that I don't know about.
No, I'm not stalking you.
No, shut up. No, I got a quote on, filling up the bee and the woodpecker holes in my house.
Wow.
Yeah, super exciting.
Those are fun.
Anyone else? Tony?
Let's see. Let's go backwards. The 22nd, the day before my birthday, Trisha and I and our spouses went to a baseball game at the Red Wings. It was WWE night, so we got to see Mick Foley, but Joe, her husband, and I decided not to stay in line and wait for him. And
What night was this?
it was a ball game, but WWE wrestling themed. So
okay.
Mick Foley, who was Mankind or Cactus Jack, was there. He dyed his beard black, which was kind of weird because he has gray hair. And we were like, why are you dyeing your beard? It was weird. It really was. At first I thought it was an impersonator, but it wasn't. It was really him. But Grace said, oh, he's so much taller and muscular than I thought. He just looks big on screen. I said, TV adds weight to you. But it was cool, but we didn't want to wait in line. People were even waiting for him after he threw out the first pitch and they said the national anthem. The line was still full. And everyone knows I don't like lines. So that was the 22nd, the day before my birthday. That was fun.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Then we went to Pittsburgh on that, I think, Thursday, which on the road to Pittsburgh was fun with 2 little kids who don't travel well. But it was a blast. So we went to the zoo. Pittsburgh Zoo is so much better than ours. I think We should get it together, Rochester. We went to IKEA, which saved us.
Hey, we're getting giraffes.
We are, and that makes me happy. We're also getting zebras. So little baby steps. That was fun. And also my parents, I got them tickets to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, who were at CMAC on the 29th, and my parents were in the second row. My dad has been a lifelong fan of Earth, Wind, and Fire. They're around the same age. My dad was in a band in his prime, and it's fun for him seeing another band he grew up watching and liking, and it just brought back flashbacks for him, and he was able to talk about his band, and it just makes my dad happy, and my mom was happy for him, and they were just up front grooving and dancing, and it was great. So that's what I've been up to. School starts up for me I go back Tuesday for orientation and all that fun, boring stuff, but we get our kids back on Thursday. So school is in session, and I'll be with Kendra, or not. I don't know what room she's in, but...
I know. She's going to be working with 12 and 14-year-olds.
Okay, so that's the middle school. So that's with me.
High school.
My area. So
she's very excited.
It's exciting. It is. So I'll see her around.
I did go to a Red Wings game on Thursday, which I didn't realize that they weren't the Red Wings on Thursdays.
What do you mean?
Plates.
They're the plates. Very confused about that. I was very confused. But
did you try one of their plate buckets?
No, I did not.
They look good.
I'm sorry. No, but I got all the girls' hats. They kept wearing them all week, so that was kind of cute. So I did that, and I've been slowly getting back into. I've been walking every morning.
Oh, you're getting in.
I've been walking every morning. The first walk I did, I couldn't barely walk to the end of my street, and now I'm walking my 3.2 because I'm supposed to run a 3.2, which is a 5K.
Did I miss something? Are you guys doing a marathon?
No, he just knows that I was walking. Okay. Oh, he's on Strava. Strava is a
runner, biker,
walker,
hiker.
It's
tracking.
like a Facebook for active.
Social media for active people.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you can see what I'm doing. So I've been walking. Zoe's been walking with me, and then other people. And now I've been walking 3.2 is my. So I'm going to keep going with that. That's helping.
What are you racing, running, walking? You said you were.
Oh, the 5K? That's in December. It's just with Girls on the Run. So I'll be training with Zoe and then running with Zoe.
They're still doing the big one at MCC?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Because they used to run it around the MCC campus.
Oh, it might be that. Yeah. I don't know. This is our first year with it, so she's in third grade.
Embrace it.
I know.
My daughter loved it, and she's now in her third season of cross country.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Good for her. I ran cross country once.
Yeah, she loves it. Just once? You showed up to one practice and gave up?
No, I ran the whole season. Okay. I did not give up. Cool. But yeah.
My week was an interesting week. As you may have noticed, this is coming out a little bit later than when we were on schedule for, and that's because my shitter broke pretty much the day of, or was it the night before? No, it was the morning of us getting ready to record. So I had to take care of it.
It was the night before? It was the night. Because you didn't get any sleep.
It was the night before, and then we had to deal with it during the day. So it wasn't like...
Was your sump pump?
The septic.
Septic.
Yeah.
So your toilet.
Backed up everything.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
I'm a midwife. I like to get things unclogged. Did you get it all situated?
We had to get it pumped out.
Okay.
It was filled, and all the outlets were filled.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had to pump it out, and the cleaning up of things after.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have a really, really, really bad gag reflex to the point where, like, a dog throws up and one of the children threw up. I couldn't deal with it because it would make me throw up, and it would just make things worse. And so it's always been a, hey, dear, you need it. So it was me on Monday just like.
See, I'm used to those smells because of what I do. And I just put on my big old water birth gloves all the way up to my shoulders, and I'm okay.
It is
hold your breath and get it done.
Like, I mean, as you've known, anything on the show is fair game to talk about. But like the poop smell in general, I've never really had an issue with it. Okay. But for some reason, it approached the level of puke smell.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's because it's been sitting there.
Yeah.
For some reason, the puke smell is what triggers my...
Well...
It's the acidic...
The strange thing about that with me is that my wife can be vomiting when she was pregnant, or people who are sick in school, they're vomiting, and my first thing is like, I'm so hungry right now. So when my wife was eating, it was vomiting, or my friends were having hangover vomits, I'll be eating cereal, watching them holding her hair and eating, and I'm like, okay, when you're done, let me know. But I'm eating while they're like, I have this instant.
Are you saying it's triggering your hunger?
Something about people vomiting, I get hungry.
Wow.
Remember Goonies, where Chunk's sitting there just explaining the stories to the Fratellis? He's like, and then I threw the fake puke over, and then they started puking, and they started puking, and everybody started puking.
It's weird because it's very like the story that's in Stand By Me, the Pukerama. I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, they were both around the same time.
I know.
So that's how my week began. And then it pretty much up to yesterday was not a very good week. And then was out mountain biking on yesterday morning, went out for a 20-mile ride, and within the first mile, hit something and flipped basically onto my back and didn't think anything about it. We kept going. I got home, pulled out my phone to text my wife because she went to Seabreeze. And my phone was completely bent in half and shattered to pieces. So I had no phone. I couldn't use it. But amazingly, like the touch screen still was usable. But you ended up with a shiny finger after it full of glass shards.
Ooh.
And so we got home from finally, and her phone was already on the fritz. So we had to replace her phone because she couldn't make any phone calls with it. We were using my daughter's phone so she can do stuff. And so we got home about 9 o'clock last night. And I'm like, well, this is a way to start the week right before school and Labor Day.
We're doing Seabreeze for the first time this year. Tomorrow.
Really? What?
Tomorrow.
That's the worst day ever.
Have fun.
Next weekend, we're going to bring you guys if you want to come.
Tomorrow
it's going to be packed.
Why would you go tomorrow for the first time ever? You don't know, do you? Okay. Never mind.
Well, we already bought the tickets.
Backtracking.
Every kid in Rochester will be there tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Well, we already bought the tickets.
Now you know.
Enjoy it. It's
Enjoy the
nice
3
and warm.
rides that you get to go on.
Okay, well, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. I wish you had told me. I would have been like, no, don't do it.
Well, we're doing that, and then Zoe's getting her ears pierced on Tuesday.
Ooh.
Rite of passage.
She wanted to do it.
I want to know more about that, where you're going and stuff, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I'm going to the kids' room, and I made sure that they were doing it, 2 people, like chunk, at the same time.
Oh.
So they're doing it.
Do you guys want to know what I did last
We
night?
do.
Just so you know why I'm so scattery. I delivered a baby, or I caught a baby in a birth tub at 4:05 a.m. So, and there was lots of puke and everything.
How long was she laboring?
6 hours.
Not bad.
3rd baby. So I'm a little fried. Go ahead.
But you're on top of things.
People need
That's a lot of caffeine.
I get it. Okay.
4:05 a.m. is that's a rough time.
8 pounds, 7 ounces.
Big. Okay.
Adorable.
Boy, girl?
Girl.
And how long have you been doing midwifing for?
Almost 10 years.
And what got you into it?
I had a terrible birth experience, actually. So I met a midwife at a party, and I said, what do you do? And I was pregnant again, and I said, oh, I'm going to switch to you. And I had an awesome second time baby, and the rest is history. I said, I've got to help women to have an awesome experience too.
Now, excuse my, I don't know much about midwifing. Does it mostly happen in the home, or do you also do it for them if they go to the hospital?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. New York State has many midwives in the hospitals, and many midwives, not that many, that also deliver babies at homes.
Okay.
But we write prescriptions. It's like actual thing. We're not catching babies in their backyard in the cornfield or something. And I'm not a witch.
No, my experience with midwives has only been seeing them portrayed through
Call the
film or
midwife.
Of
TV.
course, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. So
Yep.
you're my first legit
Awesome.
in-person midwife that I've met outside of a doctor delivering a baby, but I wouldn't call them a midwife.
There's
They're not.
lots of midwives right at Highland and right at, General.
The strange thing
right
about
in
that,
our city.
he says media. My first experience, actually seeing a midwife in a hospital was on TV on Strong Medicine. Peter was the midwife, and the all-woman run clinic, and that was my first encounter seeing one actually outside of the home. So, and now my wife she had one for a while and then she switched to, but.
Cool.
Just, little.
Yeah, other countries have a lot more and their statistics are really a lot better. If they have the more the midwives, the better the babies and moms.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
Not bragging or anything, but I just really want to move to a country that.
Canada.
Yeah.
France. Spain.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into the news, talk about a couple of our recommendations. I think, Valerie's doing Not Dream a Little Dream.
No, I'm not. But I'm going to talk about
Match.
I'm going to talk about Match.
And Tony's going to be talking about Ghost World. Interesting. I just ran across that this morning too. I was like, Scarlett Jo was in that. I completely forgot about that.
I read the comic book a while ago and I had to watch it. So.
And I'm going to be talking about the new series on Amazon, Jack Ryan. So first up, let's go into the news. What happened?
A lot of things happened. A lot of death. Depressing, actually. Last episode when we stepped out, not literally stepped out, but days later, many people died. John McCain died. He was interred the other day. Aretha Franklin had her ceremony, I think, a day or so ago, I think, too. So it's kind of at the same time, kind of confusing. A lot of heartbreak around the country. A lot of people coming together despite differences at McCain's funeral, which was really nice to see. And Aretha
not
had
everyone.
A Rochester
not
native.
everyone came together.
Rochester native singing at John McCain's. Renee Fleming.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sang Danny Boy.
Not everybody came together at John McCain's funeral.
Somebody liked to go golfing.
Yeah, he wasn't
He
invited.
was not invited.
Well,
he
yeah.
didn't need to be invited.
And he
invited,
did not put the flag at half
Don't you think
mast.
it would have been a better option just to stay at the White House and shut your mouth for a day?
Maybe.
Yeah, it
And
would have
maybe
been.
lower the flag.
Well, here's what I found out. Technically, it's not his decision, but he can override protocol, which honestly, I don't think the president should be overriding anything in that way. So
No.
if the staff know protocol says you lower the flags, keep them down, they should just do it. And if the president says, well, I want them up, they say, well, no, sir, we will not. And if he had asked me, like, nope. So obviously he pressured someone or I don't know. It's confusing. I don't want to talk about the man. He depresses me.
But Barack Obama spoke.
Well, he did, and Bush did too. And I saw a cute image of Bush Jr. giving Michelle candy, and that made me giggle because those two are like besties now, and it's cute.
It's a crazy world when we think of Bush Jr. as a good guy.
He is a good guy. He just had wrong cards.
He made some bad decisions.
Yeah, they weren't his. They weren't his. He was.
We are not a politics podcast, so
Yes.
we're not going to get too far into it. But John McCain, yes, was a
Great guy.
big blow to our politics. And
He had some wrong advisors.
and then, as you mentioned, Aretha Franklin. the
She
Queen of
went
Soul.
out. They gave her a big Michael Jackson epic farewell. She had a lot of singing. We had Fantasia singing, and just it was like a concert, but it's a funeral. So that was great to see snippets from, and it's just great seeing people appreciate it. I mean, it's kind of late, but still, I think both of them knew that they are appreciated. But
And then we also had the playwright.
Neil Simon
yes,
passed away. So actually, when Zoe and I were walking, we saw the
Were
flag.
you walking barefoot in the park?
We were not then.
Okay.
We saw the flag came down. I said, "Do you know why the flag's down?" No. So then I brought out Wikipedia and we read about John McCain. And then I asked her about Neil Simon. And so then I talked to her about Neil Simon. And then that day we went home and watched Barefoot in the Park. It's rated G.
well, at the time, yeah.
And she actually enjoyed it. Ruby actually came over halfway through. So she kept saying, "This is G? This is
Right.
G?
She was a little shaken up.
This is G?"
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yeah."
Trivia: do you know what they do for Broadway icons when they die?
They shut the lights off? I don't know.
Dim the lights.
Dim the lights. I was close.
Yes. No trivia.
But yeah, I like Neil Simon. I was back in, I kept telling her that I had played two different parts in, in duet acting. They call it forensics in Kansas. And then you would have duet acting. And I did a role where I was the wife and then I had a partner, and then I did where I was the mother, and it was right after she had just climbed up all the steps, and so I kept saying, "Look, right here," and then we cut here. She's probably really annoyed with me, but yeah, so I had to watch that. Her first, I kept saying, "That's Jane Fonda, that's Robert Redford." Oh, okay. You'll get to know them. It's okay.
They'll be your friends soon. It's a good introduction. But yeah, you need to talk about the rating system of G, like how much it's changed.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband is a movie guy, and he said it was more like PG of now. Is it true? Yeah.
I would say yes. Mm-hmm. I would.
It's really interesting because a lot of the stuff that was in the R has moved down into the PG-13.
Right.
And then a lot of stuff that used to be in the G has moved up into the PG. And then there's some stuff that's just like, I watched some stuff from the 80s and I'm like, how is this PG?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Luciento.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this.
PG-13.
Yep.
Should not have been PG. Accidentally invited Ruby over for that to watch with my daughter. My husband went ape.
Wow.
Ruby was fine. My daughter.
And the head
was
burned
not.
off?
I don't know.
Yeah,
yes.
that was a pretty
The
graphic
face.
part.
I know. And Ruby said,
face
I'm
melting.
fine. I don't know if she was fine when she got home, but Zoe closed her eyes. I think the image of what she thought it would look like was more, because when I watched it, I thought, man, that's fake. And
Kids can't
Ruby kept saying,
always determine the authenticity of that.
and she kept saying, Zoe, it's fine. Zoe, it's
Oh, she
fine.
did?
She
That's
was
my girl.
fine. She's like,
All
Zoe,
right.
it's fine. Really, Zoe, come on, it's fine.
See, I find it weird. My daughter actually, she's 2.5. We were watching Jurassic Park. Whenever someone gets eaten, like the guy in the toilet gets eaten, she giggles.
Wow.
So whenever people are chasing the T-Rex, she's giggling. So I was like, I'm not sure if you're uncomfortable or if it really makes you laugh.
No.
Like Ian running.
She doesn't have any idea what's going on.
Well, she does. She knows dinosaur, yum yum. So she knows. But it's still, it's just like weird.
Harper used to like never be afraid of anything. Harper could watch anything, not be afraid. Like Spirited Away. I'm sorry, it has some stuff in there that's. She just loved it. She sat there and watched it twice. Zoe and I were like,
Yeah.
okay, no, thank you. Zoe and Harper loved it. But yeah, when they're little,
They don't take as much away, and they
They
don't
don't.
really interpret it like we do.
I don't even think it's just as little. Like, I mean, my oldest just turned 14 and my youngest is going to be 12 in January. And, you know, I was just watching some 80s movies that I was like, I didn't think anything of because, like, you know, as I've explained before, I watched horror movies and, like, the worst R movies you can think of. But then I remember, oh, these are like some of the classic 80s films that I watched. And I'm just watching, I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
This makes me feel uncomfortable having my 14-year-old and 11-year-old in the same room listening to this because it's just weird. I'm like, but I never thought anything of it until you watch it as an adult.
I watched Gremlins. I'm thinking, okay, no,
What a great
not
Christmas
ready.
movie.
Not ready for that. I was watching all these. I just watched tons of stuff that didn't bother me, but I know would bother them. Jason would go ape.
It's not even like the violent stuff. It's more of like the language and some of the stuff they talk about. Like how many sexual innuendo things that are pop up. I'm just like, wow, that stuff doesn't even pop up in PG movies now.
No,
That it was just so
Can't.
prevalent back then.
Kind of like Christmas Vacation that way. I was watching it with my father-in-law when he
That
was
was the
alive.
one. That was like
that
the
was
one
so
I was
vulgar.
like-
Like, wow.
Whoa, this is PG.
Yeah.
yeah, I love that movie, but I still haven't.
We watch it
shown
every
The
year.
whole lingerie scene. I was like,
I mean, Zoe's seen PG-13 because she's seen all of the Harry Potter movies. So I kept trying to gauge them with that, and you can't. Harry Potter is separate from everything else in the world.
speaking of Harry Potter, have you seen the Pottery Barn collection?
Oh, boy.
Do yourself a favor and look
I
up the
don't know
Harry
if I-
Potter Pottery Barn
Is
collection.
it Harry
Is
Potter?
it gone?
Is it? Did they
That would have
just
been funny if
combo?
they did. I don't know if they did or not. I just happened to see a picture of what the items look like, and I was just like,
Yeah, they're probably already
whoa.
gone.
Cool or
Like,
weird?
full-on replicas of Harry Potter stuff, like the
Life
robes,
size?
the owls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, okay, moving on in the news. What we got?
We got Cats is coming to the screen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I think I've shared my thoughts on Andrew Lloyd Webber before. This does not excite me at all.
Not me either.
Me neither. Although we did have my sister had 2 cats named McCavity and Mistopheles.
Well, the
She likes
dance
the
part
song.
of it is going to be so much smaller on the small screen. You know, just
She likes
like
the music, my sister.
yeah.
I don't enjoy that show. I don't enjoy Miss Saigon either, and it's coming to Rochester.
I don't like Miss Saigon either. I went to this sounds like I'm throwing. I am. I saw it in London. Everybody got to choose one, and somebody chose that. No,
I have a friend who it's his favorite, and I think he's probably seen it over 50 times by now.
Miss Saigon.
He saw it 4 times. The last time he went to New York City, I think he saw it 4 or 5 times in one
They
weekend.
must love him because that's phenomenally.
I've
awful.
seen Les Mis a lot.
It's coming back for a short spell.
I like the ice for one performance. In the Buffalo has it for one performance,
They didn't pay their dues.
Love it.
and I can't go because I can't afford it.
It's coming here. Just in the back.
Is it? Okay.
See, Woody Allen's finally being pushed out of the AMPUS.
Yeah. This will be the first year that Woody Allen does not release a film in 20-something years.
I thought.
Nobody is backing him, and this is a symbol of they think that people are finally
Waking up.
listening and waking up that, here's a guy who did something bad and maybe we shouldn't be paying attention to him.
Which one? Which bad thing?
We don't want to.
Ronan Farrow's sister, Mia, being sexually abused by him when she was little.
Okay.
Then Mia Farrow's daughter.
Yeah.
I'm getting that
The
wrong.
stepdaughter, the daughter she adopted? Or
No, it was Mia Farrow's daughter.
her daughter. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And Ronan came out with she came out with a article in the New York Times
I saw that.
3 or 4 years ago, and Ronan backed him up, and Hollywood has just been ignoring it until
Didn't Muriel Hemingway say something about this?
everything
too?
is blown up in the last 6 months, 9 months. So what was that?
I thought Muriel Hemingway mentioned this too. Like he did something with her, or at least he tried to. I think she said something when she was older. Like after Superman came out, she mentioned it, and no one really acknowledged it that much. But she did put something out there. I think I read that piece several years ago. But yeah, sorry, I'm having my brain flashback to that.
So this movie he made won't be put out at all? Or
Which one?
the last one. This movie that he just did.
There's one on Amazon that
He
Kate
just-
Winslet was in, but I don't know if anyone really paid that much attention to it.
That was
Spin Wheel
Wonder,
or Circle?
Wonder Wheel.
Yeah. So
No, but
Yeah,
he just,
so it might, that news might have not included like as of this year, so it might be next year. Is not like
Okay.
He's got no financial backers backing him up right now to even. Anyways,
Top Gun.
I haven't
2.
been a fan, so
you haven't.
no.
I
Top
struggle
Gun
with
2.
this.
Why?
She's still on Woody Allen. She
Okay.
said struggle. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's one of those things. I don't know. Woody Allen was one of those. He made the movies that when I was young, started watching, and I loved the dialogue. I loved the back and forth, and I liked the post 75. So, I've always loved his movies. So then when all that stuff came out, that was really. It's just heartbreaking to see these people that you have idolized and just fall. I find it heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking for everyone involved.
It's heartbreaking, but I'm hoping that it changes the culture.
Me too.
I'm hoping that everything that's coming out right now, regardless of whether people that we respected at one point in time or we love their work, that people stand up and notice and realize this shit needs to stop.
It does.
When I was a teen and I was looking into going in, and it's all you heard about was the casting couch type stuff, and it was like, what the hell is this all about? I didn't think anything about it, and now all of what that sort of.
It was a joke,
No.
but it
But
wasn't.
it wasn't
It's
a
real.
joke, and that's the scary thing is that everybody treated it like a joke. And we have generations that just treated it like, what do they know, kind of thing. And now it's like, okay, everybody's getting in a voice to be heard, and hopefully shit gets changed. So
it's interesting. It just took so long. People were saying things a long time ago. It just took a long time.
Well, part of that, I believe, is probably because of a new generation that has grown up. You have a younger generation that has been hearing it is now the ones that can actually make decisions and make choices and make an effect on whether it be the box office or what's being TV. If you have a group of 20 to 35-year-olds that all of a sudden say, F you to Hollywood, we're not going to support this guy anymore, then the people that are 50s and 60s who are running it are going to stop and take notice and say, oh, well, if we're not going to get money,
plus,
maybe we should change something.
I mean, there are kids, like Disney kids, saying that they were being molested, and how do I put this? I know that he is kind of a figure where people are like, ugh. But Corey Feldman wrote a book that I really like, actually. And he said that when he met Corey Haim, he had already been, I think he was molested when he was 8 or 11, something like that. It had already happened by the time he met him and ruined his life. And that's like the downward spiral of his life. And that it happened to him. It was just prevalent. It's just sickening that it's taken so long.
And that's the thing, people look at somebody like that and say, the kid's messed up. How can you believe anything he's saying? And realize that he got broke by the industry, and this is what happened. He's a product of that. And now it's taken almost 3 generations of, I say generations, but like decades of people going through the industry to finally start making shit change. And in the same way with, us not being a politic podcast, but we look at, here we have a 7-year-old guy that is bringing shit that is back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s range of how certain people view. How does that change? Generations die off and new generations come up and replace that. And that's sort of what you're seeing I think in the film industry, is you're seeing a younger generation of people that are more accepting and respect people for who they are and what they are. And the older people who have this fear of change or whatever are either getting forced out or are dying off. And so at its core, I think it's coming up from the bottom, that it's becoming a better industry as a whole, as I hope our country is. We now have
politically, it would be nice if it
2
worked.
to 5 million new people that will be voting in November. That can make a huge change.
Let's hope.
Yeah, we can hope.
Stuff came out beforehand. It still didn't matter.
Well, that's why I'm saying you have generations that need to change. Our kids are the ones that are going to be changing stuff.
We need to change things in 2 years. I'm just saying. Okay, moving on.
So,
unfortunately, there's a lot of 60, 70, 80-year-olds that are still voting, and they have nothing to do but sit there and wait and go vote. And if they're stuck in their ways, they're going to continue to vote. So the ones that need to vote are the ones that are the younger and the generations that need to change.
Moving on.
Top Gun 2 is being pushed back. Do we know why, Ron?
We don't know why.
I have no clue.
Are you excited to wait for it?
No. It was just one of those things that popped up. I'm just like,
He's going to be 2 years older.
So I'm hearing that, this is Goose's son.
He'll be on. He's
because of Goose's son.
That I heard is this is about Goose's son and Maverick mentoring him and passing the torch to the new generation.
Is Meg going to be in it?
I haven't seen her in anything lately.
She's been kind of in the shadows, obscure, producing stuff. So
I want to say the last time I watched a film with her in it was the one with her with Russell Crowe.
Oh, she was also in one called
I'm sure she was
The
in
Women.
stuff later, but
She was in one called The Women. But I haven't seen her lately. No.
Well, Cruise might be cashing in his retirement checks by the time Top Gun comes out.
It's 2 years from now. The man is pretty fit.
So is Bruce Lee.
I'm just stating a fact.
Seriously. Anyway.
A Quiet Place is getting a sequel as well. So I know you guys are. I don't know how you guys feel. How do you feel?
A Loud Place, or
I'm hoping it's. I don't know. I don't know how they would approach the sequel.
I don't either.
I'm kind of hoping it's more of a prequel, but
Okay.
A prequel would be
like something that
good.
Embraces the whole like how did it start into
that. That'd be interesting.
The prospect of it without. I mean, John Krasinski was such a huge part of that film that I don't know how. I mean, Emily Blunt was remarkable. I can't remember her name, but the girl who played the deaf girl was phenomenal. But John was like a really big piece of glue that held that thing together that I thought would be like, oh, let's see how
I would love to see how it became like that.
And how did they learn that they had to be quiet and do all this and form these communities that I don't know.
I thought it was perfect the way it was. I think they should leave it alone. It was like Twilight Zone. I know, money.
But no, I agree.
And I don't want to get any more attached to the little boy who dies in the beginning.
We do spoilers.
Spoilers are fine.
I already didn't want to watch it after that
it.
scene. I'm like, I can't handle this.
I didn't.
Kids die, I'm out. But I did watch it, and I thought it was well done.
Jason's the same.
The look on, man, when the kid got snatched and John was just sitting there and just like, he couldn't emotionally do anything. It was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. Goosebumps.
No prequels, please.
I'm just reading this Danny Boyle thing for the first time.
Yeah, Danny Boyle, right after our last show, Danny Boyle decided to leave James Bond 25. And as we were just talking about the last show, was Idris Elba possibly being touted as the one to follow. This came out like the next day. Danny Boyle is no longer there, and it has something to do with one of their casting decisions, whatever that may be.
Creative differences.
And but in that byline, it said something about him directing a Beatles musical. I had no clue that he was directing a Beatles musical, so that was news to me. And it has Ed Sheeran in it, or Sheeran.
No.
Yes, but he's as himself, not as anybody to do with the Beatles.
And down.
Seriously. Oh my God.
She just grabbed her head.
I did. I'm sorry, Kendra, who loves Ed Sheeran.
Grace loves him too.
You're going to like push them together. That's really I liked him.
I don't know what they're doing or what they're basing it off of. Or well, I mean, obviously they're basing it off of the.
He wrote the song
Beatles,
for somebody else. She didn't put it out. Whatever her name is. What's her bucket?
Mm-hmm.
What's her name?
You talking about Julie Taymor?
No, the song that Ed Sheeran wrote that he didn't. He wrote it for.
I don't know anything
Rihanna.
about. I don't know anything about him. I don't follow him. For
Rihanna, and she didn't put it out, so he put it out, and then it was that song that keeps getting played over and over and over and over.
One Call Away or something? Or
Here's the beautiful thing is I couldn't tell you one single song that he sang or even recognize his voice.
So good for you. I wish I had that luxury.
Anyway.
Speaking of music, Hans, I don't know if I pointed this out, Hans is composing Wonder Woman 1984, even though he said he was done with composing superhero films. So
you believed him?
I think he likes that electronica, and I think it'll bring him back to the 1984 when he was playing the synth guitar and all that. Any trailers that caught your guys' eye this week?
Not really.
Haven't watched any.
I haven't watched any.
Wait, did I see something in the movie theater? Did I go to the movie theater?
Wow.
Oh.
There were a couple that came out.
It's pretty bad.
But nothing that really stuck out to me. There was a new Hugh Jackman film, Frontrunner, about a politician. I didn't even watch it, but I got to go back and check that out. A new trailer for Bad Times at El Royale. Every time I see this, I want to see it even more. Jeff Bridges and Cynthia Erivo, Nick Offerman, Chris Hemsworth.
Can I ask you a question? Where do you see your trailers? Do you see them on YouTube by accident, or you go to Apple and other places and like you look for them? Like, how do you get your trailers?
Everywhere.
Okay, so it's just not me then, because you'll say, "Oh, I
You
get him on
can go ahead
YouTube."
and say new trailers for this week.
I mean, I see him through my feed, typically through the Twitter feed first.
Okay.
And then through a couple of news sites I follow. I'll see him through there. But yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're through the news feed first. Because I follow a lot of creatives in the industry. So they're like, oh, here, check this out.
I have a friend of mine who keeps, not Trisha. I have a friend of mine who actually waits for trailers to drop on YouTube. That's the only way he watches new trailers. And like, that's just, I mean, that's great, but there are other places to do that. And it's kind of limiting.
In past years, you could probably say about 60% were on YouTube. Now you'd be pressed not to find one that doesn't appear on YouTube at the same time, because they tried the whole like release them through Yahoo, you release them through Microsoft. Even if they go through Apple trailers, they're released on YouTube at the same day. They just everybody's realized you can't put them on another thing. Your value is at YouTube.
Right.
So
yeah, okay.
That's generally where I've seen most of them now. And then the True Detective season 3. I don't know if either of you have caught in either of True Detectives before.
Snippets, not a lot, but just like one episode every once in a while. So.
I watched the first couple of episodes of season 1
with Matthew McConaughey, and so
not that I didn't like it. I think something came up.
It was dark show too.
I like dark.
Season 2 didn't get rave reviews, so there was question whether they would be doing a season 3, but they are. And I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Mahershala Ali from
House of Cards
and
Moonlight.
So he plays the lead in Detective.
I knew when he was in Moonlight, he was going to get the Oscar. As soon as I saw him as Juan in Moonlight, I said, he's getting the Oscar.
I loved him in House of Cards.
He was great.
And so it's just been, every time he's in something, I'm like, ooh, instant watch. Any other news?
No.
Okay. Well, that wraps up our boring news segment. Moving into our recommendation list. Anthony.
So I was reading comic books because I do that. I'm that kind of person too. And I was reading Ghost World because it sounded cool, you know. And then I found out that, you know, our friend Scarlett Johansson was in Ghost World.
ScarJo.
Yeah. Was in Ghost World with Steve Buscemi and Thora Birch, who was in American Beauty. So it's kind of that whole Steve Buscemi's awesome. Thora was in American Beauty. And then you have Scarlett Jo, who was in every Marvel film recently. So I just had to watch it. And in case you don't know, Ghost World came out in 2001. It's based on the graphic novel comic series by Danny Close. And it's basically about 2 young ladies who graduate from high school and how they're preparing for the life after. And I kind of figured it'd be opportune to talk about it because, you know, the Bechdel test we're talking about, and it's about women having names and, you know, talking about things that are not boys and that kind of thing.
2 women. They have to have, you have to have
names.
No. Well,
yes.
They have to have more than one. Do they talk?
And not about boys.
And what? Not about the people in the movie, not about boys.
So, and they passed this with flying colors, but they also talk, the thing is they get bored after high school and they start finding creeps to target and things that pique their interest, and they find our Steve Buscemi character, let me get his name so I can say it correctly, Seymour, who collects really eccentric, weird art, and he catches Enid's Fancy, I think that's her name. Yeah, Enid's Fancy, who's Thora Birch, and they kind of hit it off, and then she's coming of age. And
this is a movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a series. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You should watch it. You may like it. But it's just a kind of like a Virgin Suicides feel to it, but a little bit more dark comedy. But it's I guess I wanted to see it because I was still feeling like I wanted to know what people were thinking in 2001. Because I mean, I was just getting into high school at that time, or in the middle of my high school career. So I wanted to see what would happen after, or at least cinematically what happened after. Like, you know how in some movies they have prom scenes, and my 2 proms I went to were nothing like the proms I've seen in movies. So my
prom was like in Footloose.
Was yours?
My prom was like in Footloose when they decorate themselves. They decorate the whole thing themselves, and then you go.
I think the movies lead people on in the wrong way sometimes. JK, sometimes. But I like the movie a lot. I would say watch it if you can. You can learn a lot. And again, you have Scarlett Johansson, Thora Birch, and Steve Buscemi. And the opening scene alone of watching Thora Birch dance to Bollywood music is delightfully funny and amusing to me. So
fun. I had the interesting couple weeks trying to figure out what I was going to talk about here. Gringo, movie that I wanted to see a couple weeks ago, came on Amazon, and I said, nope, don't want to talk about that. Then I went and saw Mile 22. Nope, don't want to talk about that. And then I saw Habitat Murders. I'm like, this has got to be the one I'm going to talk about.
God.
Nope.
You got to talk about that later.
I'll talk about that a little bit later. But that what I wanted to talk about is two things came out on Friday. Ozark Season 2, which I was excited for, but also Jack Ryan. And I am a huge Jack Ryan from Tom Clancy fame fan. And we've gone through many iterations. We've had Alec Baldwin as him. We've had Chris Pine. We've had Ben Affleck. And most importantly, we've had Harrison Ford. And I remember watching the early ones. And outside of Indiana Jones and Star Wars, it's probably some of the first Harrison Ford action movies I remember watching with my father. And so there was that little bit of like, hey, a little nostalgia type thing going on. Of like, I wanted to see how John Krasinski portrayed him. Especially in the way of, he goes from this analyst to full-blown agent. How does he make that transition as a character?
Can you give him a grade?
A-.
Really?
Not as good as Harrison, but very good in terms of John. For me, has never been an action guy. He's always been this comedy dude. A little bit of, and most of that is from The Office. So I wish that I had never seen The Office specifically, so I could give a fair judgment on his acting.
If you wouldn't have watched the American and watched the British one, you wouldn't have had that issue.
Correct. I watched both.
Did you like the British one better?
I liked them both. I like them both.
You didn't like one better than the other?
Not really.
Huh.
My daughter's obsessed with The Office. But, the only action movie that I'd seen with John recently was the one about Benghazi.
Okay.
And he bulked up and it was a completely different character for him. And so it kind of threw me for here's him trying to be this serious actor guy. And he pulled it off affably. And so when Jack Ryan came around, I was really excited because I want to see what he's going to pull off the character, but I like the character in general. And with the addition of Wendell Pierce as Greer, basically the guy that he reports to, and Abby Cornish as his love interest / the doctor who plays a pivotal role later on in the series, I think they were all a stellar cast. I liked it. I liked his portrayal. I liked that as he got more serious and got more invested in the things that he was doing to try to protect the country and where the series was headed, he toned down that comedic John Office type feel into being a very serious, shit's going to get real, need to take care of it kind of thing. But I liked it so much I blew through all 8 episodes yesterday. So. Yeah. So I got back from my bike ride from falling on my back and hit play and just kept watching. So, and then when my wife got back, we went and dealt with the phone thing and I finished up the last episode late. So.
Okay.
But it was enough to keep my interest over the thing, and I like binging, so that was the perfect way to binge. And it was only 8 episodes, so
8 hours, 8:30s.
45, 50s.
Okay.
I don't think they were quite an hour.
Okay.
As the series as a whole, as written, it brought up some good stuff, but apparently Siri thinks I'm talking to her.
She said it was okay.
It wasn't perfect. There was like some of the solutions or some of the way he came up with like, oh, how is this going to be solved? Just kind of like popped up, and like there was no real work involved in the solution of some of these things. And I didn't like what they kept doing is they would deal with something in Yemen, and then all of a sudden he'd be back at the office, and then he'd be back in Yemen, and then he'd be back in the office instead of like.
But in
reality, wouldn't they have probably set up a remote place and he'd be dealing with it there instead of constantly coming back? And I just felt like a yo-yo thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would end up in the analyst office, and he'd be there for 5 seconds before somebody would yank him away to go deal with the important stuff. And all of his people in the analyst office are looking at him like, ooh, he's a big important guy now. So it's just these weird like moments that I don't know why they scripted it that way, but they're making the money, not me. But I would recommend it.
Okay. Dustin's really excited about watching that one. He keeps saying he wants to see it. Okay, I'm going to go a different direction. I watched Match, which is actually the second time I've seen it, with Patrick Stewart.
You sure it's not Jean-Luc Picard?
Okay, that was really funny. Okay, and Carla, is it Gugino? Anyone know? And Matthew Lillard. Yes. And I'm not really a huge fan of that Matthews, but he
Shaggy.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's not where I see him
when
from.
Kendra walked in, she looked at it. She's like, "Oh, Shaggy." I was like, "Oh God, ugh." But this came out in 2014. I saw it. I saw it both times on a television, and it just stuck with me. His character, Patrick Stewart, is a Juilliard professor of. He teaches ballet, and he is he's asked to do an interview by the married couple to talk about the dance scene in the 1960s. So he's completely like, oh, sure, no problem. I don't have a problem talking about that. So they're talking about getting a dissertation. They're like have like a microphone, and he talks about it, and then you realize that that's not exactly why they're there. And it becomes really uncomfortable. And Dusty kept saying, I don't like this movie. I'm not liking it. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this, because they are there because what's his name? I'm so sorry. Matthew's character believes that he is his father, that on his mother's deathbed said, you know, who is your father? And she said, go look up Toby Powell. And so they do. And he said, I don't like where this is going, because they're asking him very specific questions. And then they bring up with his mother. And then when they said that she had passed away, he has an emotional reaction to it. But Matthew's character, I'll just call him, his name is Mike. Mike does not do well with this. Mike has an anger issue. He is thrown off off the force for a little while because he roughed up somebody he wasn't supposed to. And he basically attacks him to get a swab from his mouth to get a DNA test. And it was very aggressive. I mean, it was aggressive. And his wife gets so upset with him that she does not go with him. She stays with him. She stays with Toby. And then they have this talk. Again, we have dialogue. And the dialogue they have. And in one day, this relationship that grows between these two people and the lines that Toby is given and how, like, he talks about how he knits and he shows her his knitted sweaters and he gives her one, and he talks about, you know, just the way he moves, just the way he talks, the way he talks about his life. I kept saying, God, I just want to be his friend. I want to be one of his friends. He's just lovely. He's a lovely man. And he finds out that their relationship, her and her husband's relationship, is not doing so well. And when Mike gets back, he's still pretty angry. And she says she's not going with him. You know, no, we're not. I'm not doing this. And you need to go talk to him. And he starts physically, like, threatening her. And Toby steps in front and he's like, nope, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. You know, gets all up into his face. So we have this kid who grew up angry because his father deserted him. We find out that Toby is really his father, even though he passes it on to somebody else. We find out that the mother called and said, I'm having your baby. Do you want to have a part in this? And he said, no, because I'm about to go on a huge tour. And he wanted to be about.
He wanted his life. He didn't want the.
He wanted his life. But he saw this article about his son fencing, and he cut out the article, and then found out that they didn't have much money. And so he sent her money for him to go to college, which he never found out. Never found out in the movie either. He sent him the money to go to college, and he knew the entire time what was going on. But I think it's the relationship that he has with the wife, the friendship that they have, and you get so attached to Toby's character because of how lovely he is and how he teaches her how to let things go, and he teaches her like a ballet move, and how to kind of let it all go. That's how he starts his class, and he tells her this quote that Dustin and I were. He said, she said, do you have any regrets? He said, I love my life and I regret my life. The lines eventually blur. It's just my life, which I feel like all of us can identify with. I would absolutely recommend this. It came out in 2014. If you like dialogue, if you really like Jean-Luc Picard, no. Patrick Stewart. It seemed like a play to me.
It was based on a play.
Thank you. Okay. Because I was like, this is
Stephen Belber.
This is very much a play.
Very dialogue heavy.
Adapted his own play to the screen.
It's so lovely. So, yeah. Watch it. I believe I watched it. I think I rented it again on Amazon. But it's definitely worth it. So
So you don't like Matt Lillard, or you don't know his previous work? Which one is it? Or Shaggy's just ruining him for you.
What other work has he been in?
Salt Lake.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Nope. Those aren't kind of...
Okay.
Nope.
Salt Lake City Punk is the first time I encountered Matt Lillard. Adam Pascal was in that with him. And then there's also Descendants, which came out a few years ago with George Clooney, where he plays the other half of the wife's partner. So
okay, I saw The Descendants, but I didn't.
He was in it.
Or Descendants, whatever.
Yeah, by Alexander Payne. But yeah, Salt Lake City Punk and Descendants are my two go-to Matt Lillard film roles.
I'm just not a fan.
Then watch Descendants and look for him.
No, I have seen it.
You just don't like his presentation?
I don't know. It's been actually a long time. I could watch it again for you if you'd like.
Cool. But yeah, matches based on the play. Stephen Belber is a co-writer of The Laramie Project, which came out in 2001 by the Tectonic Theater in New York City.
Okay.
And That's when I first encountered Stephen's writing. Well, some of his writing.
So you've read Match?
Yes.
Of course. Did you see the movie?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes. I think Patrick Stewart is branching out from Picard for a reason, which is nice. Nice seeing him not playing Professor and Captain. Seeing him play... He's also in a Anton Yelchin.
But he is going back to
He's going back to it. But
he branched out. I think he did the part perfectly.
He's also in a film, Anton Yelchin film called Green Room, where he's playing a white supremacist, which I like Patrick doing other things besides playing his iconic roles.
Yeah.
So, but yes, he's a good actor, and he's good in this. And the whole nail thing was kind of creepy, gross, but worked.
I wasn't going to bring that one up. Everybody can discover that one on their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go.
Great play, though.
And in follow-up, no, it wasn't sitting around for 8 hours. I think I had done like 3 or 4 of them the night before.
Okay.
So I was just figuring out that timing. Like, yeah, I think I was sitting in there. All right. We will be right back after this short break. For you, the listeners of the Cultural Stew podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. What have you read lately?
I finished up my first James Patterson book. It looks like he wrote it with David Ellis. It's called Invisible, and is narrated by this cool name. Sorry. January Lavoie. That's cool.
And Kevin.
I could not get his last name. Because I couldn't get his last name. I'm sorry, Kevin. I could look it up for you, but it's Kevin somebody, and he does a great job too. I'm sorry. But every time he spoke, it reminded me of the guy. He is one of the guys that was in Lost, kind of weirdo.
So is it a male and female narration?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My first James Patterson book, and
That's interesting. I haven't listened to many that have a dual narration.
I have. Audible does a lot of things like that, and they have their own studio, and so they do a lot of narrations, and then they have tons of people doing them, famous people, and they will recreate. So they do a lot of stuff like that. Currently, I am listening to Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, a novel by Robin Sloan, and it's narrated by Ari Flakos. I love it so far. I'm really liking it. And
what drew your attention to that one?
Because the narrator was narrator of the year. So it's kind of
that's a solid one right there.
Yeah, and so I was kind of interested in kind of the stuff that was being narrated, and I always read what other people write and the stars and stuff, and so I really have enjoyed my last 2 books. I will say the James Patterson book kept me hooked, except I figured it out long before they did, and I thought, I'm not an FBI agent, so why did I figure this out before you?
Were you given information before they were?
No,
okay.
I was not. So I thought, okay.
You know what that just means? That means you need to write more.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, where can we find out more about these Audible books?
Well, you can go to audibletrial.com/culturalstew and get your free month and enjoy all of these books. And they have sales all the time, and you have your daily deals every day that are different. Obviously, different books every day, and some of them are really awesome. And then they have channels that you can go to, and some of them have books already on there, and suspense, and all different types of channels that you can go to. So it's really, I love it. I love Audible. So audibletrial.com/culturalstew. Go do it. You won't regret it.
Do it. All right, and welcome back. Today's stew is presented by
Valerie. So this ought to be an interesting discussion, I hope. So the Bechdel test is something that a lot of people had not heard of. Why are you giving that look?
I'm listening. Sorry.
And Alison Bechdel, who did Fun Home on Broadway. She wrote Fun Home.
Oh, okay. So this
Yay.
is where this comes from.
I know what that is.
There you go.
He woke me up.
And so she came up with the Bechdel test that because of the lack of females being portrayed in movies, probably with brains. But so the Bechdel test is number one. Does it have a female?
Or two.
Sorry,
Three.
Lo siento. Does it have more than one? Number two is, do these females actually talk to one another? And three is, do they talk to one another about something other than men or the male that's in the movie, or like something else that has to do with themselves? And I had watched Tully because I'd wanted to see it for a while. And it passes, and some people are like, well, how does that pass? Now, if you want to see Tully, you should stop listening now, because we're basically going to ruin it for you. And if you really want to see it, just stop listening. But
Or hit pause,
Or
go watch
don't.
it, and then come back.
and then come back.
It's only 95 minutes.
It is. I put that on there. I put that on there for a point. But I watched it, and I was bothered by it.
Before we dig into Tully, give me some examples of other things that you've seen that do pass the Bechdel test, or things that don't, even though they appear on the surface to be.
Is it just for movies, or is it also other media?
They have it for theater too.
Okay.
In different.
I've only heard it in
demographics.
context of
Films.
Film? Okay.
or TV.
So actually, if you want, you can go to BechdelTest.com and look it up
They have a
yourself.
listing.
So they have listings, and you can put up, and then all the movies that don't. A Quiet Place, doesn't. Annihilation does. Ant-Man and Wasp does pass. Avengers, I'm just kind of doing the ones that you guys
Recent
might know.
ones.
Avengers passes. Black Panther passes. Deadpool does not.
Shocker.
But Game Night does. So there's a lot of The Incredibles does. Isle of Dogs does. Jurassic World does. Passes for you. But you can...
Really? I can't.
Yeah. I think that you'd look at click
That
on
must
it
be
and
like
see.
a really narrow scene.
Right.
I know they marked Jurassic Park as passing, and it was mainly because Ellie and what's her name had like one line that they said to each other.
That's all it
And
takes.
That was it.
It should be more than that, but
It should be.
Yeah, it was a very, very narrow like.
But at
this
least
is
it
what
was in there.
passes, and yeah.
Some of them don't even have them in there. Ocean's 8, of course.
can I step in?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Coming from a writer standpoint, I always try to include, names for my female characters too. So it's Bechdel Test 2.0. I want my women to have names so we know who I'm talking about and they stand out. I actually, last time we mentioned this, I said I would have two. So I did have Ghost World, which did pass the test. And I also had A League of Their Own, which had Gina Davis and it Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and Tom Hanks, and
that?
our very own Bill Pullman. Yeah. I mean, my thing about the test is that I wish it would be a little bit more specific because they can talk about anything. And in my finding of this, in reading screenplays and reading plays, is that usually even like Wonder Woman, for example, the women are not talking about men, but they're talking about combat or war, that kind of thing. And League of Their Own is baseball. So
What's
I'm
wrong
not
with
saying
that?
they can't talk about baseball, but I want them to talk about something that's
Do you?
I don't think there's anything wrong with
Yeah,
that.
it's just-
For
I
men
put
to
down
watch, do you?
say again.
For men to watch them, do you?
No,
Because-
I just want.
But for most men,
Relatable.
I think there was an interesting thing. So I have a couple that I listed on there as mine, and one of the ones that popped out to me was, and it popped out because I was the character that that's in Tully. Because she's in *Halt and Catch Fire*. And one of the things that's intrigued me about *Halt and Catch Fire* is like season 1, it dealt with the quasi like Steve Jobs Wozniak type relationship. And when it moved into season 2, it started focusing on Cameron and Donna. And Cameron is Mackenzie Davis. And I looked at this thing as a whole and was like, it is in its own way, it's an extension of the Bechdel test in that why do most of these things that pass the Bechdel test revolve around, oh, they're talking about credit cards or shopping or like these things that are like...
Agreed.
I don't know if you necessarily pigeonhole them as like stereotypical stuff that people would think, oh, this is what women talk about all the time. Whereas the character was bringing out a great point about how the development of the *Halt and Catch Fire* into season 3 became about Donna and Cameron, these two very smart, bright women that just took control of their lives in the 80s and 90s, where it was not accepted of women taking this much control and saying basically an FU to the whole man system and putting themselves up there. And so there's lots of like interactions that in itself the series passes as a Bechdel test, but I think as the whole, I think *Halt and Catch Fire* is more of an extension of like, this is what this should lead to. It should lead to these powerful roles for women just to take a series and just turn it on its end and say, these are smart characters. They're written from the ground up. They're not just talking about dumb shit that make no difference. They're people that are talking about structuring the way the economy goes or the way technological influences in the future happen.
When I was my freshman year in college, my mother taped a Lifetime movie for me called Chantilly Lace. Mm-hmm. And when I watched that, it literally changed a lot of things for me. That movie, a lot of it actually was improv, but it was all women. And the man that does come in does not have a face. And Linda Yellen read it. She was the director, and this movie has Helen Slater, Ali Sheedy, Jo Beth Williams, Martha Plimpton. Sorry, I can't read from that far. Talia Shire, and two more, which I'm trying to get. I'm sorry. Come on for me. Why aren't you working for me? Oh, Mary Kay Place, and one more. Anyway, I had ordered the movie on VHS. I own it on VHS. And I love the movie because it's all about women. It's women talking about women. It's women talking about, the other woman that I didn't really know. I can think it was Talia Shire. Talia Shire. I'm sorry. I hadn't seen her before this movie. And Martha Plimpton and Ali Sheedy are having a relationship. And Ali Sheedy's sister is Jo Beth Williams. It's perfect. And she's having a hard time telling her. She's her little sister. And she's having a hard time telling her big sister that. And then there's a lot of different things going on. And it shows women getting emotional, women getting mad, women getting so mad that they're crying, women saying, why are you okay with this? Like freaking out like we do. Like because we're passionate about stuff and because we can get loud about things that have nothing to do with men at all, that have to do with, loss. And, they show a lot of weepy women. And that's why I kind of like Sally Field's part in Steel Magnolias when she turns around and she gets angry.
Oh, my favorite. Now you're speaking my language.
She's getting angry and saying, I'm fine. I could run, marathon, but my daughter can't. She never could. See, here it goes. Here we go. Anyway, so There's so many things. There's so many women that are misrepresented. I asked Kendra today. So, are there any superheroes that aren't good looking? Are there any plain ones or some that are played by plain? She's like, well, Deadpool. He wears a mask and he thinks that somebody's not going to love him because of the way he looks, which a woman at the end is the one that brings him to the point where, no, that's not true. But she also brought up another, sorry for the pages, people, but I'm a paper person. She brought up another, she texted me.
Nightcrawler had that problem too, I think.
Nightcrawler, Spawn.
Yeah.
There's also a movie that's supposed to be done and it's called Faith. And she is an overweight, I'm putting quotations up, an overweight superhero.
After I record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we hear you? Are you in there? Anyway, so that leads us into Tully. Now, Tully does have a scene in a coffee shop after she gets berated by another woman, who women always feel like they can berate other women who are pregnant. After she's getting a decaf and she's like, you shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. She sits down and Violet, who was a woman from her past, actually her ex-girlfriend, which we don't understand at the time, they talk.
Yeah, I got that vibe from that scene. Yeah. I was like, well, okay.
I didn't quite understand what was going on. I was, slow.
It was her look to the belly, like she was surprised that she had a child.
Right.
Oh.
That was what got me. It was like her eyes went down on more than one occasion with a quizzical look kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, back to that whole like the women, the caffeine decaf thing. I was like, how many times I've heard that, like people say that during when my wife was pregnant, like stupid little stuff. I'm like,
your business.
It's none of your business. Mind your own shit. Why do people need to do that?
Do it all the
judgmental
time.
about it.
People putting their hands on your body that you don't know.
I'm like, why would you do that?
It's called wrist snaps for me.
I got so when I was pregnant, I especially with Zoe, my first, I didn't show till 6 months or so, and then I was little. She was just like a little bump, like a little basketball. And I was berated by women because they thought I was anorexic and that I was trying to be small. I had a hard time. I didn't want to get big. And I said, no, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating what I'm supposed to do. Same thing with Harper. It's just every woman is different. Every body is different. Every single way that every birth is different.
People just want to have something to say. That's all. I mean, they'll say it if somebody's big, they're small, they're nursing, they're not nursing. There's always something.
And it's hard.
So women are the superheroes that we need to be talking about, okay?
So I was talking about...
Tully is a superhero.
I said there's a superhero.
Yeah.
So they get this night nurse. Her brother gives her... and she makes this joke about the hand that rocks cradle. And I don't want somebody raising my child. And he's just saying, I miss my sister, and you're exhausted, and this is just so that you can get some sleep. And she has a younger child who is quirky. You can't see me, but I'm doing little quotations. Quirky, and the school can't handle him, and so they say
the private school can't handle him.
They decide they are going.
He needs a helper. All to himself. Or whatever.
I got so many things to say. I'm going to wait till you finish and I'll tackle this when you finish. So.
And so she is, here she is with all the stuff. And then she's sitting there and her husband comes in and he says, oh, frozen pizza again.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it was really a good depiction of most people's lives who have more than 2 kids.
And not all, I'm not I'm talking about the woman part. I am not talking about the husband part, because my husband was getting up and helping, and there's a night nurse who her husband does not meet. She comes up and says the night nurse is downstairs and he's up playing video games. There's no way in hell that my husband would not go down and meet,
right,
or pre-meet
somebody that just walked into your house at 10:30
at night. So it's very unrealistic.
It's
very unrealistic.
Not for everyone.
Probably.
I think that there's.
There was a hint.
I
about
shared
the
some
plot,
of my concerns with her this morning
Yeah.
about there are parts of this movie that turned me off because of it not being
True.
relatable or in a way to me. And the first thing that got me was, you're sending your kids to private school. I've never had that experience. And I have, both of my children have a form of,
Scribe.
it's with their eyes. It's albinism.
Okay.
But, there's different forms of it. And so we've always had to deal with my children being something special that they've had to have
Right.
special treatment with the school. And it's always something we've dealt with in person with the teachers.
Right.
And the school's pushing off thing and pushing it back onto the parents rubbed me the wrong way, not only because it was private school, but then we started talking about, her rich brother and then bringing him paying for their night nurse. It just got me into a,
You can't identify
all of a sudden it
with
just took me out of the way of I'm not identifying with this film at all,
But
because you're taking it from the average person into
Heightened.
I don't know if you consider
There's
a rich
Right,
sphere
but it
or
was
somebody who
relatable.
has money,
Yeah.
but you're putting it into a sphere of
But there's tons of movies
these
that
people
do
that didn't.
Yeah. And it's not the
I've
point,
never
too,
heard
the
of a
whole-
night nurse before. I've
Right.
never heard of that.
That's very unrealistic. I can talk to that because I know that there's doulas, postpartum doulas, that are not typically staying overnight. So that was I feel like those were clues that it was not meant to be taken literally, like a night nurse. So I took that as a clue to the plot.
It just rubbed me as a wrong way. It was like, okay, they have a couple children.
Mm-hmm.
They should be used to this cycle by now.
Except that her
I think-
son
yeah.
takes it out of her. I mean, the son.
And I identify with that. First of all, my son's name is Jonah. Second of all, he had the same exact situation. So when she did that monologue and told that teacher off,
Principal.
I was like, that's my next audition monologue. It was awesome. So I think it depends on your background. We have kids with special needs as well. So I get what you're saying. But I think that for many of the women that I take care of, motherhood is going to be different for everyone. It was not a male-centric movie. You're correct.
No, that's not what I was going after.
Yeah.
It was more when they switched into the night nurse thing. It always, all of a sudden, it became this is unrelatable
Surreal.
to me because
Right.
when we had issues with our children or with our marriage, it became something that we handled.
Right.
We didn't all of a sudden outsource it to somebody
Yeah, that
else
was crazy.
to take care of.
Yeah.
So it took me out of this. All of a sudden, okay, it was relatable
You
at one
had,
point.
yeah.
To now
But it
it's
was
not.
her story. It was the story of this woman. So, there's doulas that are mad that doulas were portrayed that way. And if you look at all the blogs, it drives you crazy because it's it's not about you. It's about this woman's experience. And it was an art piece
When
if you
I-
look at it like that, to me.
6 months after I had, I believe it was Zoe or Harper. I can't remember which one. 6 months. I remember I would put my feet down on the ground and it felt like I was stepping on glass. I couldn't figure out why. And then all at once I couldn't grip my hands and it felt like they were full of arthritis. Now I had a hip replacement because of arthritis. So I thought I have arthritis, I guess. And so it got so bad that I said, okay, I guess I'm going to go to the doctor. And they tested me. You don't have arthritis. What? Then what is it? And tell me about your life. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Do you ever leave the house? Do you ever do anything else besides take care of your children? Do you have a life outside? Do you have any hobbies? Do you have this? Do you have that? No. Did you before? Yes. Did you write? Because I told him I wrote. Are you writing? No, I'm not doing anything. It was stress manifesting itself physically. And they said, okay, I guess maybe it was Zoe, because after a year or so, we got a babysitter to go on date nights, like just to even start there. And I had, then I realized not everybody can do that. I know that.
Right.
I understand that. And I have a fantastic girl that has been helping me for 3 years. And she came like twice a week and for like 3 hours at a time so that I would get out of the house and do something. And I realized again that is not realistic to most people. However, for me, I struggle with lots of different
quirkinesses,
as
we all do.
And it helped me a lot. So when the night nurse came, which I didn't know wasn't a thing because I don't know, when she came and Mackenzie's character, Mackenzie, give me her name.
Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah, Mackenzie Davis came in. Honestly, when she came in and she started talking, and I felt this huge relief, like, and then
it was beautiful. I thought it was really beautiful.
Was just like, oh my gosh! And then she said, "You can go to sleep. I'll bring her up when it's time to nurse." And I thought, wow, she gets to sleep. She gets to be a human being. Because you kind of become crazy. I mean, you do a little bit, like without.
Some people do.
Some people do.
So everybody's got a different experience that they're coming in with, and as did I. But yeah.
So to me, I understood that I need sleep. I'm somebody that needs sleep. So I was like, gosh, that's really nice. And so then they became these friends, and I thought, gosh, with you going to bed and your husband's playing video games all night and he's not relating to you, man, I could think to myself, I could just live with a night nurse and get rid of my husband. Because she was so lovely and they were having these conversations. And then all at once we had this strange situation where she's putting on the waitress uniform and goes up and seduces her husband, which he looks, are you sure? Like, it was very strange that happened. It was odd. So then you're thinking, Tully is weird. Something's going on with Tully.
See, I knew already, and I watched it as that, and I loved it. And I suggest people who are offended by it to know what the plot is and how it turns out, and then watch it again as an art piece of her talking and relating with her younger self, and her younger self as her life preserver through a very, very rough patch of postpartum.
So we don't shy away from spoilers here. So spoiler alert, the night nurse is not real, and this is all in.
It's her.
It's her.
At a younger age, which is beautiful.
And this is where we had a nice little discussion online this morning. I turned the movie off I thought it was 15, 20 minutes into it. It was actually about 45 minutes into it.
Because when you said,
it was at the point when the night nurse first came in, and because I had seen the frozen pizza scene, and that was what I think just kicked it off for me, is like, who talks to their wife like that after they've just had a baby and she's home all day with them, and just like, oh, frozen pizza again?
Right.
I'm like, that wasn't my experience with my wife.
Of course.
And it's not been, like, I don't see that in the people that I know. I'm like, yeah, it exists out there.
It exists.
It exists.
But
it exists.
It was that, and then the night nurse came in, and I'm just like, you know what? This movie's lost me. I have no interest. And the only reason I went back to finish it up is because Valerie got pissed at me.
Good.
And I see it as okay, this is a woman who's slightly losing her mental stability based off of what has happened, and it might have been something that's been there before because of what she's been dealing with, trying to deal with her son. And
he didn't know that the nanny wasn't a nanny.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I was like, is why you need to watch it, because the nanny
you need to watch
not
the whole thing as an entire piece of art. And to women, and to me, who I've had 5 kids, okay, and I've had all different kinds of births and all different kinds of, I've had a birth in every 10 years of my life. So 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, okay? I thought parts of it were very realistic. And people need to talk about it. This movie was a good conversation starter about just maternal and women in general. We need to talk about portraying mothers as real mothers. And I was very, very, it was very validating for me that, yes, I've been in that situation. I know what she's talking about. I've had that voice in my head of my younger self talking to me about, don't you want to go to Manhattan and audition? And I'm there nursing. So you haven't walked the walk. I get it, but it definitely struck a chord. And I know the women I work with, there's many women who have a great time at first time motherhood or second time motherhood or fifth time motherhood. But I think it's a spectrum and it's all different experiences. And these experiences need to keep on coming, just like your test shows. I mean, we're underrepresented in the media.
And I feel like with this, there were a lot of people that got upset with this because postpartum versus postpartum,
the labels,
the psychosis, which she never labeled in the movie.
And she was highly functional. She did what she had to do. She was highly functional. The only thing that wasn't functional was the last scene when she got in the accident, which bothered me. But
when he said, and she left the children.
Right.
What did he say? He left the children. She's never like this. She's never left the children
and
unattended.
And where were you?
Unattended.
Yeah.
And where were you? Oh, well, I was home.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like the guys
She
that say I'm babysitting. That drives me nuts.
Yep.
But when they talk about they're fighting over this, and then there are the women that are like, this movie, they should have come with a warning label saying that this could trigger you into having postpartum and postpartum psychosis. And I thought to myself, how many war movies, like when you see the trailer, you know what's going on here. How many war movies say this might trigger PTSD for you?
Right.
This might trigger, come on.
It's not the film industry's responsibility to portray this kind of a
it's R for a reason.
Condition.
Read why it's
sleep
R.
deprivation, whatever it is, as a reality. That's not the film industry's responsibility. Look at all the shows that you've seen that have difficult things to deal with, and they're not. You don't have to accurately portray it or portray it that it's everyone's individual experience.
Correct.
It has to be just taken for what it is, and it's just a sounding board, and it's a discussion starter.
With me, it bothered me not because parts of it reminded me of me.
Right.
It bothered me because parts of it reminded me of close people to me.
Yeah.
And I just sat there like, oh shit. Yeah, I don't know.
See, you have a level of resonation that I don't have with the film.
Sure.
Because my experience through this, there was nothing that was relatable. I mean, the points of our pregnancy that were the worst was actually during the pregnancy.
Right.
Like we didn't have this, and at least it wasn't visible to me or to my wife, and we never really had that experience. So when I went to go watch the movie, that
you didn't have anything to latch on to. So
the reason part of the discussion I got into earlier is my films for me are an escapism, and this wasn't an escapism for me. This was watch somebody's life unfold. And
you watch Dunkirk.
But women like that. You
didn't fly a plane. You weren't in the war.
That's escapism.
Yeah, guys have different reasons.
You learned about what it was like to be there and what those deaths were like and what those men were going through.
But he's interested in that. He's not interested in this.
But he's raising girls. How do you know that their children
and
they're not going to have a problem with this at some point in their life? Or females in general, I feel like men need to learn a little bit more about females in general. I go watch movies all the time about things that I will never deal with.
I don't.
Have never.
To be honest with
dealt
you, I agree with you. I wouldn't watch a war movie for exactly the same reasons. So as a midwife, I was interested in this because I work with women from ages 10 to 100. I take care of women throughout their lifespan. And this is a huge issue for our women that I take care of.
Have you ever watched a movie about the Holocaust?
I would watch that.
Okay. Why?
Because I have empathy. This is a beautiful empathy movie. This is an empathy movie for women.
It's about
who have experienced this.
So when we talk about like war movies and Holocaust movies, for me, it broaches escapism versus learning history or learning it through a different view.
But
this is learning it from a different view too.
Birth happens every day.
Yes,
I know. But I was just answering what you were just saying, like why the escapism, war is not escapism. You're learning about something because it's more of history to me. This is something different for me. I'm just stating that this is why it wasn't relatable to me. This is not a movie that I would have continued watching.
Superman or Spider-Man, they're not relatable.
Right. Everybody has different tastes.
That's where I say that's escapism for me.
Right. And guys
I go to
do
the movies to escape, not to be thrown into a family relationship.
Yeah. Women watch movies for this reason all the time.
So you found Dunkirk as an escape.
Thus soap operas in the
History,
old days.
A learning.
But this is learning.
She really doesn't like.
But we watched it, so let's just continue the conversation and finish.
Okay.
So you're viewing it as learning or history. I'm viewing it as walking into somebody's family drama and
humanizing childbearing. I love that. It's humanistic.
It reflects on the way that you also how you like your movies. You like dialogue. You like plays that delve into family issues and emotions.
Yep.
But it also deals with birth and raising children and
which
having
is highly
babies.
Passionate for us, but not for everyone. It's true.
But
I wouldn't talk about this with everybody.
It's a husband in the house. I mean, how can you not relate to it if you're in the house raising the child? You're supposed to be raising them together. The fact that he's not knowing because he's playing video games and she's downstairs with the babies.
Right. We relate to it in a different way, just like you going through a menstrual it's happening to you personally.
Right.
We're on the outside looking in.
Let me tell you, if there was a movie that described the stress that my husband goes through when he was, in California all week. He barely had any sleep, 4 hours. And then he didn't have any sleep on this. And he's trying to get these slides together. He's trying to get all the stuff together because he has this new job and he has so much stress on him. And if there was a movie that made that relatable, like so that I could watch it and I could understand every single thing, because Jason's not going to tell me everything. All I know is that he got no sleep and his stress, and he's not going to tell me everything. But if there was a movie out there that I knew of, I would watch it so that I could understand.
Right, but
Company Man with Ben Affleck, Tommy Lee Jones, and there's someone else.
I saw that.
It's depressing, but
anyway, I don't mean to get so.
All these movies are uncomfortable, and that's okay. Like, I think our culture needs to be better about discomfort when it comes to the portrayal of a mother. Like, it's not what you want to see, but it needs to be said.
Like the breasts.
Yeah.
The breasts becoming full and it hurt so hell. And they're like, oh my God. I mean, Kendra was sitting there like, what is happening? I said, her breasts are full and it hurts like hell. And she has to let down somehow. And she's in a bar and she doesn't know what to do. And she's in there trying to get that taken care of. And how she had no idea. She's never seen a movie with it in there. But how many movies has she seen with guys getting kicked in the balls?
Right.
I have no idea what that feels like, getting kicked in the balls. But we have seen it over and over and over to the point where we understand that we're like, every time somebody does it, I am like, oh God. Like, to me, because I realize that must hurt like hell because they talk about what it feels like, but they don't talk about this much.
Well,
I'm going to try to say what I want to say. I'm going to try to say what I want to say very quickly.
Okay.
So my take on this is from the writing standpoint. So I like Diablo's style writing. Mm-hmm. It's refreshing, it's new, exciting. But some of the choices she made, I felt like I was watching a movie that should have been made in the 80s. Like, it was one of those, the 80s for me were films that were topical. So a lot of films back in that era were what do you call those? Like Tootsie, and they're like social films. Films talk about social problems. So watching this film in this day and age, the husband being the lazy bum that he was, I'm like, there's no way that would happen this day and age.
Bullshit.
I mean, it still happens, but generally
that's bullshit.
I'm thinking to myself, like, why would this be happening in this?
It's not you.
Because
I know it's not me, but still, I'm thinking to myself, in this day and age, it happens, but that's just so awkward. That took me out of the film. And then the brushing, I do that with my students all the time, the brushing.
Yeah.
So seeing that, and then them not saying, oh, your son's quirky. I'm like, okay, first of all, again, we're in an era now where we can label that as autism or on the spectrum, or labels are not always good, but being so vague about it, I guess they wanted to have a conversation, but in the 80s, you can get away with that. It was okay because we didn't really know that much about it. And honestly, I'd rather it had been the daughter having autism and not the son, because women are not underrepresented in autism. But that's a totally different thing I'm going to talk about later. But the son's quirky, he has issues, and like, can we label him? Why are we not?
I think it was the idea of the turmoil that she suffered in her daily life. It wasn't supposed to be taken literally.
Again, but I'm about being, okay. When I first heard about the film, before I read the screenplay, I like films like this to be more grounded in reality. So again, the whole night nurse thing, that's fine, that's great. But again, I saw it coming that was going to be her. I kind of figured it out in the beginning, but it's just, it didn't feel real to me. I felt like I was just watching something, I don't want to sound rude, but just a social story to help us talk about something. Like the whole point of the movie was just guys talking, and they had Charlize Theron in it, and Reitman was directing it, and Cody wrote it, and I wanted more. So, again, these little mini episodes of her struggles is fine. My wife has gone through those moments too, and I know other women, wives, and mothers who do the same thing. But at the end of the day, I always tell my wife, you are my wife. Yes, you are a mother too, but you're also a person, and you have things you can do. You have hobbies, you have things you can do. So you are a mother, you are my wife. But what else are you? My wife's a photographer, so you are a photographer. You are a secretary. You have other things going on in your life besides just being a mom. So don't limit yourself to that.
Being a mom in itself is okay.
It is.
Okay. I mean, that needs to be said too. It
moms need to find other things to be, again, labels are not always good, but don't pigeonhole yourself in that label of just being a mom, because there are other things that you can be besides that. You are a mom, yes. But let's not get yourself so stuck in that mode that when someone says, oh, what do you do? Oh, or how are you? And you're talking about your kids, but they're saying, no, how are you? Not your kids. And I always tell my wife, I don't want you stuck in that mindset.
Right. So, she loses touch with herself, but she's sleep deprived, and she's depressed.
Yeah.
Okay. My husband is a psychiatrist, so he watched it with me, and it was really interesting to get his perspective, and as a guy, and as a psychiatrist. And first of all, it's not an accurate description of what postpartum psychosis would really look like, because she was highly functional. And I think it's just meant to be, like you said, a social portrayal of a human. Have you seen Next to Normal? You could really compare this to the musical Next to Normal. It was very much of the same twist, if you will, okay? Which, I mean, it was that woman's experience.
What's another thing, too, is that, so we have A Beautiful Mind talking about schizophrenia, which was, I say entertained, but not in the whole I'm entertained, but still had a story to tell, but we still learned about schizophrenia. While the story, I felt like we were just talking and slamming us with postpartum depression and
except that they didn't name that.
But it's real. But it's real. And it exists a lot.
See what I mean? Is that there's a difference between entertaining us or enlightening us versus just really enlightening us and not entertaining us. I was not entertained.
I agree.
So,
that
because you didn't.
Everything that I read had nothing. They never talked about the son ever.
Who wrote the story?
Diablo Cody.
Who?
Juno, this writer.
Juno
young adult.
and young adult. This is
female
the triple
or male?
Female.
Diablo Cody, yeah. This is their little triplet, their little 3-movie thing, trilogy. And they didn't talk about the son. I wanted more about the son. And I also, when the doctor came out, I wanted more. That is exactly right. I did want more. And I felt like that was a disservice. Can we have some more here? Can we have a little bit more to talk about?
But then it's an after-school special, ladies. It's like,
that's okay. There's a balance. There's an art form of balancing it.
I liked the way it kind of was vague at the end, and she had to go back to life, because that's reality for a lot of people. And I think, she had an awakening where she said to the, Tully comes into the hospital room and she says, I have to leave you now. And she goes, I know. So it wasn't a huge hallucination where she didn't really know, and she lost complete touch of reality, in my opinion. Because I don't think someone like in A Beautiful Mind, who is very disabled with all that going on, it was a totally different person portrayed with mental.
I'm just going to put it out there. My favorite part
problems.
of the whole film, and it's not saying but my favorite part of the whole film was the end. Not saying that I wanted the end, but I'm saying that the end when she's cooking, making the meals, and they're listening to music, and then he takes it earphone, and that's my favorite part of the whole film. That
I did love that too.
It goes back to you got to keep going. Yeah.
So that's all I have to say.
But that's the only time when I saw him actually
do something because he was scared. So.
I will say that I appreciate that the men on this podcast cannot fathom that there are men out there that are like that because you weren't like that.
I can fathom it. I just don't.
We're glad that you're
see
good
that
guys.
being realistic. So
no, I'm not perfect. I don't do good stuff all the time. It's just
but
it was just the stuff that I
so
saw
oblivious.
Took me out of the movie very quickly to the point that I expressed that frustration.
I understand.
So
okay, last thing
that I felt was just I don't know if it could have been written differently or what.
My thing is here's the last thing I'm gonna say. Last thing. I don't know if he was intentionally being obtuse or if he just was not aware. I don't know which one it was, but to me, that took me out of it. Him being that oblivious. That oblivious to me. I said, there is no way seeing what your wife's doing, seeing the look at not making eye contact with her. I mean, how? So either he was not really focusing on her.
Didn't know she was in bed all night.
He's working all day, though. I mean, my husband with me after my babies, he's a psychiatrist, okay? And I was suffering, and I love him. But he did not get it. He did not say, can we help you? I had to go get that help on my own. So I think women silently suffer because they want to be perfect and they want to be the mother of the year and they want to be Wonder Woman, if you will. It's just really hard. There's a lot of expectations put on mothers. So I think it was something that needed to be said, at least.
Okay.
Ta-da!
You just got to finish with an okay.
No, I was just, there's too much I could say on that. I had written something where I said, I wish that there was a film that showed, because I have Jason's side of life, which he is going through hell this week. And my side, I wasn't going through hell. But I'm just saying, like, say I had given birth and was tired and exhausted and all this stuff, and I was going through hell. And we always talk about the fact that you don't know what's going on in my life.
Right.
And they're so different, but they're each hard lives.
Yes.
And
it honors that.
It goes through a hard life. His life isn't that hard. This guy. But what I'm just saying is...
I'm curious if there is a script version of this that dealt with a little bit more of their relationship deteriorating. That might have landed differently.
I'll look it up.
I don't know.
Of them dealing with the already having two kids and now having a third.
It was an accident they mentioned in the movie. It was an accidental pregnancy.
That their relationship the whole time, they're constantly not paying attention to each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was saying something to her at the gas station and she was just staring off into space.
Yeah.
But so I'm wondering if maybe that's why it wasn't landing for me, is just there was not enough. Maybe, it's 95 minutes. Maybe there's
character
stuff that was taken out of this film that because they wanted to drive home the point of the story of the postpartum psychosis and that part that they decided to pull back on whatever else was going on. Because I felt like at the end of the movie, that resolution into them having the little kitchen moment was a little bit too
quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think...
They left out too something. Nicely. Yeah. Yeah.
He was scared, but it still didn't,
And
if they were having that much problem where they weren't talking and seeing each other, I can't see a resolution of them coming back together that quickly.
Well, we don't know.
If you...
without her slugging him, taking the earphone and putting it in his head and slugging him.
There's two numbers.
Where
I'm going to leave you with. We're just going to leave you with two numbers. So postpartum support helpline is 1-800-944-4773, and then the suicide hotline in the U.S., the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-TALK. I was going to spell it 8255. So you can also go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org/chat if you want to talk to anyone. I just want to leave it with that.
Thank you. I think you're up next on the next topic.
Am I?
Yes.
Well, we'll figure it out when I get there. I'm not sure what it's going to be.
It's going to be a surprise.
Surprise.
Anything in our grab bag? Or is that old news?
The grab bag, I don't even understand. Oh, the grab bag with Kids Corner. You can watch Spirit, the movie, and then Spirit is a cartoon on Netflix. It's cute. Like
so
it.
The old Spirit from the 90s, 2000, they made a series out of it.
Yeah, that's cute. It's fun. My girls like to watch it, and I recommend that. It's on Netflix. That's my little...
How old would you
Oh,
recommend?
my goodness.
Would my Jonah like it at 4?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I think he would.
I need
really
more
do.
TV for him. Keeps him in one place.
Wasn't it our rule that there was no screen time at the table?
Yeah.
Your idea.
He never has screen time. So.
But yeah, so Zoe and Harper both like it at the same time.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Anthony, what's on your radar and queue?
There's a couple things on Netflix. I think that we have a Kelsey Grammer thing on Netflix. I think it's like Father. It's basically about a woman who is still at her wedding, so she takes her father on her honeymoon. So
Is that the one with Reese? Or is it Kirsten Dunst? It's one of the blondes.
I don't know. I know Kelsey Grammer's in it, so I'm going to watch it. But I'm going to watch that.
Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell, I think is, yeah.
So I'm going to see how that goes. And theater season is starting up for me, so that means I'll be doing a lot of taping at Muck and Shiva and JCC. So I may see you there. I may not. I don't know. Fun times. And
Awesome.
It's cool. So.
Yippee.
Oh, yeah. Also, I'm playing hockey in February, so I'm in hockey training mode. So I come in all, I'm in pain. It's because I've been on the ice, getting ice rust off. And
How's the book coming?
slow, but it's good. I'm getting a lot more information, learning how to fix cars by putting them together online. It's kind of an interesting digital simulation. So, yeah.
A lot to learn about cars, man.
But it's all in my head now. So,
As I mentioned, I watched Happy Time Murders. Not anywhere as good as what
So the trailer-
was.
The trailer
should have just
sucked.
been 5 minutes and
Oh my
then
God.
ended.
so a skit,
hated the
like a skit,
trailer.
and that was it.
It should have been.
A sketch.
Yeah.
Okay.
The trailer alone turned me off.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It went for something and it missed it big time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know how that movie would even be fixable, honestly,
The script was so
without
good.
turning Avenue Q into a movie.
The script was good.
Okay. Moving on. And what
There
else?
is big holes in the movie, though.
Then they cut things out they shouldn't have. Okay.
Possibly.
I'll send you the script.
Hurry
But
up.
it's mostly weird seeing puppets with legs.
That's the weird part.
Yeah.
There wasn't supposed to be any of that.
Gringo, Charlize Theron's in that one. It should have been good. Not. Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg sucked. Just finished up Preacher season 3 on, is that AMC? Still as weird as ever. So still going in that. On my radar, try to get to before it closes out at theaters is Black Klansman. Peppermint opens up this week, and Mayans starts on FX. Mayans is the offshoot of Sons of Anarchy, which was one of the best written shows for a while. So I'm interested to see that come back. It would be nice for Kurt Sutter, who's the writer of that. His writing is pretty fantastic.
Oh, I'm reading Black Klansman. Sorry, just flashback. Yeah.
So yeah, that's high on my list, but I don't have a single night open this week, so I probably won't see a thing into next week. And then Ozark season 2 started. I need to finish up Legion season 2 and finish up Castle Rock.
Okay, so I'll go quickly. Started Castle Rock. It was like crack.
I just want to say
Not that I've ever-
Fraggle Rock every time.
I've never even tried crack, so I don't know what that's like. It's like eating one Oreo, I guess. So great show. If you like Stephen King, and you like to find it's like Stranger Things for Stephen King fans. It's kind of what it's like. We loved it. Dustin and I are sitting there, and Kendra are just like eating them up, just like that. I watched Barefoot in the Park so that Zoe could see it, so she can understand who. Oh my God.
Neil Simon.
Thank you.
You didn't even show her Odd Couple first?
No, I showed her this one first. And then I want to finish that up. I was trying to finish up my book that I talked about earlier. And then I did want to say that I did watch the first episode of Glow. And I could have easily been in a mood. I will say that. I appreciated the stick-to-itiveness or the perseverance of the main actress that didn't give up. I'll say that. And then I just like, and then we started watching. It was a little. It's light and it's
a very light show.
It's light and comedic, and I am not there yet.
I'd kind of say it verges with, kind of lends towards dark comedy.
I am really. Jason keeps saying, "Can you watch anything that's not dark?" Because here I am, like we're in Dexter, and we're now watching Castle Rock, and I am like, he's just like, my God, you're really in.
Young Country Doctor's Notebook is good.
He's gonna have to walk around with a flashlight.
And then The Wife is coming out on the 8th, I believe, and then
The Wife,
and then Puzzle is out right now.
I saw that. I thought that was fake because it looked like a really weird. I did see that trailer this week. It looked like a fake, like Saturday Night Live trailer. Like
Puzzle.
They're gonna make a movie about a puzzle. Like if it's not bad enough doing one. I don't know the plot though. So
The Wife is coming out, and it
1,000 pieces of white cut up.
And then I clicked on it. It's actually showing at Pittsburgh. I'm like, oh my God, it's real.
Glenn Close and Christian Slater.
Wow.
Yummy.
Interesting.
Christian Slater.
Yeah, not Glenn Close.
Not Glenn Close.
Okay, just checking.
And it also has
speaking
Max
of
Irons
that, Robot. Mr. Robot is canceled. Christian Slater.
Wait, what? Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's sad. Grace liked that show.
So that's it. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay.
But, I had to throw back and watch Dream a Little Dream. Because me and my bestie, Courtney and I used to watch this. And I showed Kendra thinking, okay, so you're probably going to think this is really stupid, but you're going to watch it. And she loved it. I just dig this movie. And I'm sorry.
What was her perspective of...
What was going on?
Because she's young enough that the Coreys to her were these bonkers out there boys.
No, she knows them as from the older movies. Like she knows them from Stand By Me, and she knows them from all that stuff.
So
She's not seen Lucas yet, so I was going to show her Lucas. But she enjoyed the movie a lot. Jason Robards is in it. Piper Laurie from Carrie, going back into, Sissy Spacek, who is in Castle Rock. And what's his bucket? Who plays?
Her interest?
No. In Castle Rock, the guy, he plays it.
Yes. Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, Skarsgård.
Yes, he is a creepy looking.
God,
dude.
man, he is.
Even without all the it makeup.
So I would really recommend that.
Why did you do this?
He's so tall. He's not tall. Well, they make him tall in the movie or in the show. Anyway.
He is. Well, I get all Skarsgårds mixed up.
Anyway, but thank you, Brigitte, for your viewpoints and for being here
sleep
today.
Deprived, so I could be real with motherhood.
Sleep deprivation.
I'm a little psychotic too. So
she just saw the miracle of birth.
Always fascinating.
Where can we find you?
Me? What did I decide? Like, am I
You should write it down on your tablet so we know where you are.
I already shut it down already. I think I'm Penny Lane 64 on Instagram and Antoine Twitter.
Wow.
VB Vidmar on Twitter.
VB Vidmar on Twitter. And I just keep putting at
Cultural Stew and write my thing because I can never find the link to do it as Cultural Stew. But I have been taking pictures and this is what I'm watching. There's been a couple. I've seen them come through.
So
She's doing it. Anthony?
I'm on Facebook all over the place. You can find me by my name, Anthony Carter, 167. They gave me a number now. I'm not sure why. I guess I'm 167. Anthony Carter is weird. I'm on Twitter at SMTORCHIO. And I have an Instagram, but it's locked, so don't bother.
What'd you do?
No, I just have my kids' pictures on
Private.
there. I don't want people,
got it.
seeing my kids. So, but
I'm on no social media except for Gmail and for my website, moderndaymidwife@gmail.com or moderndaymidwife.net.
Perfect. I was just going to ask you
Thank
that.
you.
We thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It was
fun
fun.
conversation. You can find me pretty much everywhere as GF Media or GF Media CEO. You can find us at culturalstew.net, at culturalstewnet on Twitter, and Cultural Stew on Facebook. Catch you later.
ciao.
The intro and break music is Please Listen Carefully by Jazir, available through the Creative Commons license from Free Music Archive. The outgoing music is provided by Epidemic Sound. Please see our show notes for details on what the outgoing song is and who it is by. And also, as always, if you have a piece of music that you'd like us to play or consider playing, please contact us today. Like what you've heard? Want to continue to hear more? Please consider Patreon. What is Patreon, you ask? Patreon is a content creator support site, a way for people to support the things they love and allow creators to continue creating the content that they love. Please consider heading over to patreon.com/gfmedia and becoming a Patreon supporter today.